Well, they didn't look like the soldiers you see in war movies. They didn't wear fancy uniforms. And when the war ended, their story disappeared into the sands of time. But in one of the deadliest jungles on Earth, a group of men, thousands of miles from home, fought in one of the hardest battles of World War II. Most people don't even know they were there. In fact, some still don't believe it. This is the story of the secret battalion of World War II. Soldiers without names, because this story was buried with thousands of others like them. When people talk about World War II, they mention Normandy, Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, Hitler, Churchill, Mussolini. But there's one front that barely makes it into history books. It wasn't fought in Europe. It wasn't even fought on the beaches. It was fought in a place where your enemy could be a sniper, or a snake, or both. This is the Burma jungle of World War II. Anyways, today, it's now called Myanmar. But to the soldiers who went there, it was hell in green trees. But here's where things get interesting. This mysterious battalion showed up in this jungle. They weren't British, they weren't American. They didn't even belong there. Imagine this. You're in thick rainforest. It's hot, it's wet. Your boots are soaked. You can't sleep, and somewhere out there the Japanese army is watching. But these soldiers didn't even flinch. They moved quietly. They carried their own food. They built their own bridges, and they advanced through terrain even trained European troops couldn't survive. Who were they? Why were they there? And why is no one talking about them? In 1943, at that time of the war, the British Empire was stretched thin. Their forces were exhausted. Reinforcements were needed, so they did what empires do best. They reached into their colonies, quietly. Without headlines and without cameras, entire battalions were formed from a distant land most Brits couldn't even find on a map. These men didn't speak English fluently, but they understood discipline. They understood sacrifice. Their journey started not in London, but somewhere much farther south, and as they landed in India, observers were confused like, wait, who the hell are these guys? Dark-skinned, strong, focused, marching in unison with British commanders at the front. They trained fast and fought harder. The Japanese forces called them phantoms. You'd hear drums in the distance, then silence. Then, boom, your camp's gone. So who were they? And why were they so good at fighting in this jungle? These were the 81st and 82nd West African Divisions, formed from soldiers across West Africa, but led in large part by the heart of the British colony, Nigeria. Yes, Nigerian soldiers, fighting in Burma under British command. Many had never left their villages before, yet here they were, fighting jungle warfare like pros, not for glory, not for land, just orders. One of their toughest missions was the Caladan Valley campaign. The terrain was almost impossible. Food was dropped by air. Sometimes it missed. So they ate whatever the jungle gave them. They carried mortars on their backs, built bridges out of bamboo, and kept fighting, even when malaria hit their ranks harder than bullets. And the enemy? They were shocked, but slowly but surely, the 81st and 82nd West African Division pushed through the jungle, captured towns, cut off Japanese supply lines, and helped turn the tide in Burma, a campaign Churchill once called the worst military disaster in British history. But with these troops, the tables turned in Burma against the Japanese. But when victory came and the war ended, parades in Europe, medals, films, history books, and the Nigerians, they went home, quietly. Some were never paid. They came home. Not to cheers, not to medals, just back to life as if nothing happened. The British Empire moved on, and somehow these soldiers disappeared from the narrative. Not a single major World War II film shows them. Not a single British documentary focuses on them. So again, who were they? There were the 81st and 82nd West African Divisions.